Welcome into the Sports Buffoons Podcast. Boys and girls, welcome back on in once again to a Wednesday night showdown here with the Sports Buffoons based out of Lenexa, Kansas. So what is going on, fellas? What's up? We got Tanner D to my left, JG to my right. We just got back from our trip from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma City. I got to experience that for my first time. I was a little underwhelmed by Oklahoma City, just to put that lightly. Tulsa is still, in my opinion, one of the most underrated cities in, honestly, the nation.
I think it outdoes everything.
That's why we go down there once a year, every year. Jason, you go down there more than that. I think it's a fun city. I think Tulsa's great. So with that said, you guys, I'm glad to be here today to talk some sports once again with y'all, because the last two shows you guys did, I was missing in action.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, before we get into that, I want to ask you guys your favorite part of the Tulsa trip. What did you enjoy the most?
The pool bar. The pool bar is my favorite. Spent 4 hours, I think like 4 hours at the pool bar Saturday night. So
you got all wrinkly on the fingers and everything, Tanner.
It doesn't matter, because when I hit the dance floor, it was game over after that.
Dance floor. I don't even remember you on the dance floor too much, but
yeah.
I was busy.
You weren't really near me that night.
I was playing Baccarat. So
yeah. What was your favorite, Jason?
Yeah, I would say the pool bar was a close second, but my favorite part by far was making all that money. You know, when you make money at the casino, dude, like you feel like you're on top of the world, like you accomplished something.
Yeah, and
that we did. So that was my favorite part.
Most of the time, my favorite part of staying at casinos is that you can go down there and pay for your own vacation. Go down there and pay for your own trip by going down there and destroying them in Baccarat, roulette, or whatever it is you're into out there. I'm not going to give away any ideas.
Sports betting
is a thing, Just going down there and paying for your own vacation through beating the casino, and that's the best part of the whole thing to me. I enjoyed the breweries. Obviously went to Rough Tail Brewing Company, which I officially can say is awesome. I love the environment walking in there. Great IPAs in there. American Solera was wonderful as always. And Cabin Boys is always a top-notch place because it's a lot of fun. They got ping pong at Cabin Boys, Tanner. You and I always play over there, so there's all kinds of stuff to do out there.
Most improved brewery.
Oh, beer-wise? I agree.
Marshalltown.
Oh, Marshall. No, yeah.
Marshall, sorry, okay. Marshall Brewery. We hated it originally when we went 2 or 3 years ago. Most improved brewery, and such a great place they moved into as well. They did a phenomenal job.
Right. They might have hired a new brewer or something. I'm not sure, but
it was good.
The new location's cool. They have mini putt golf, so putt. And as well as what is the other game called? The board. It's the board. I cannot think of the word.
I can't even think
the board
of it right
with the little saucers. All right. Anyways, why can we not think of this word? Anyways. Guys, shuffleboard. That's the one.
That's it.
All right. Anyways, you guys, I'm glad we're back.
Real quick here.
Sure.
Welcome back, Brady Sr., to the starting lineup of the Royals.
Oh, there you go.
Just so you guys know, 7 innings, 9 strikeouts, and the guy got a win last night. So
he did really well, didn't he? Only allowed 1 run. Is that right?
That's right. Actually, no earned.
No earned runs.
No earned.
He needed that because he needed that for the confidence anyway. Because that guy struggled.
His first start all year. Yeah. With us, so phenomenal. I just wanted to give him a shout out because I was happy to see him do really well.
Well, the Royals need him because we're desperate. In case you haven't noticed, we need a guy like that to step up and get into the starting unit and rescue us because we're going down a dark, deep hole as far as that pitching is concerned.
Well, we're not talking a lot of Royals today, but if you guys want to have a shout out here and there as the rest of the game goes on, go ahead and do that. But today is all about. Still, the NBA playoffs going on right now. Tonight is obviously the Warriors game, and we'll be kind of watching that out of the corner of our eye as we talk here. But we're going to play a little game here later on in the show. It's going to be here coming up in a few minutes. A little bit of comparison. So we're basically taking a player that's been a prominent figure in the NBA the last few years and comparing him to a NFL player career-wise. So we'll see what kind of comparisons we come up with individually here. But first and foremost, guys, I know you guys want to talk about what happened within the NBA here the last couple days and going forward, going into the weekend. So go ahead, Jason, kick me off here with some of your NBA takes.
So Miami in Game 1 beat the Boston Celtics 118-107. Miami was actually favored in the game to win the game, and I think they would have been favored had Marcus Smart and Al Horford not been out because they had Game 1 at home. But at any rate, they were favored to win the game. Boston was favored to win the series. At one point, Miami was ahead by 20 in this game. It's kind of like Boston had control of the first half, and then after the first half was over, Miami basically had the control of the game from here on out. But no Marcus Smart. He's got a mid-foot sprain, and no Al Horford. So he is currently in health and safety protocols, and they basically, in my opinion, they need both of those guys. A lot of people think, well, if they had Marcus Smart, they might have won that game. Both of those guys play really, really good defense. Now, Al Horford will generally get you more on the offensive side of the ball, but defensively, which is what matters when you get this deep into the playoffs, both of those guys are really good defenders. And so I didn't really think Boston had a chance in this first game. Now, Al Horford is going to miss the second game as well, but Marcus Smart has said that he is likely going to play in Game 2. But Tanner and I, we talked about this series before it started. Tanner thought, as most people thought, that Boston would win the series. I was kind of back and forth. I eventually went with Miami in 7 as my official prediction because you look at the defensive rating in both these teams. Boston was number 1 in the league. Miami was number 4. Looking at those two defensive units, though, I feel like Boston has really, really good individual defensive players, but I feel like Miami plays better as a defensive unit. I feel like there are a few cracks here and there that you can exploit in that Boston defense, whereas I never really see that Miami defense break down ever. And so I give Miami the edge defensively in this series, even when Marcus Smart, Al Horford come back. I also give the edge to Miami as far as coaching. So Eric Spoelstra has been there and done that. We give Ime Udoka on the Celtics. We give him a lot of credit. But I think he deserves the credit, but he's still a first-year coach. And, people think it's a big deal. Oh, my gosh, he beat the Brooklyn Nets. Well, Brooklyn Nets were a dumpster fire. People thought that they were better than they really were. And then with Milwaukee, you beat the best player on the planet, Giannis Antetokounmpo, but they didn't have their closer. They didn't have their all-star that makes buckets, which is Chris Middleton. And so that's why I ultimately went with Miami as my pick to win the series. But as far as the game itself, Grant Williams that exploded in that last series, he didn't really do shit in this game. Derek White hasn't really done shit in most of the games. And so the Boston Celtics were really depleted from an offensive standpoint. But you got to give Miami credit in that first game because they really locked them up on defense. And Jimmy Butler, nobody could really stop him. Jimmy Butler, even though he had 41 points, he was doing it on both ends of the court and really kind of dominating this game. And so then you got guys that we've never even heard of. So you got Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, who had 17 and 11 points respectively. These guys are dogs, dude. All these guys are dogs on defense.
They're going at them.
So that's what I look at in a series like this is defense. We all know that defense wins championships. And I like Miami's defense a little bit more than I like Boston's defense. And keep in mind, too, that Victor Oladipo, he only played 8 regular season games. And now he's still kind of getting ramped up in the playoffs here. I think you're going to see a game in this series where Oladipo kind of gets his legs back underneath him, and we start to see that old Victor Oladipo that we saw a couple of years ago before those injuries started to pile up. So I give Miami the edge. It's not a knee-jerk reaction, because they won the first game. I know that I had picked them before the series started, but I still think this is going long. These two teams are even and I still have it as a 7-game series.
Yeah, Tanner, I just want to say you and I both obviously had our predictions a week ago about where we saw the finals ending up. We both had the Celtics actually in the finals in our hot takes. And so now knowing what we know now with the COVID situation regarding Al Horford and the injury to Marcus Smart, and I'm assuming he'll come back sometime soon, but knowing how this game one has planned out or turned out and going into the rest of the series, is your opinion changed on Celtics now maybe not winning this and the Heat end up going to the finals?
No, not at all. I still think the Celtics are going to make it to the finals here and still be in contention there. Look, game one, they just got done with a 7-game series with the Milwaukee Bucks, the defending champs. Those guys, you could see already that they were tired going into halftime. And, I mean, when you face a team like Miami and you're already exhausted as it is after a 7-game series, especially with the Bucks here, Miami's going to bring it to you. And if you can't stop them at all, then it's over. And obviously that's what happened in the third quarter there when Jimmy scored 17. So look, I'm not worried about it. Game one, Miami did exactly what they needed to do. But as far as where Boston's trajectory is, I feel like they're going to be fine when they come out for game two, game three. And I think they still push the series. So.
Yeah, they need everyone to be healthy, obviously, and ready to go. Because if you're missing 2 key players, then you're probably not going to win no matter who you're playing against.
Marcus Smart should be back game 2.
Right, and we assume the COVID thing will go away for Al Horford.
Al Horford, you'll probably see him game 3 or game 4. So
right, which he's obviously, even though he's an older player,
he's a big key.
He showed up huge in the last few weeks for this team.
He's had some key moments in the Milwaukee series, and that's what they're going to need him to do as well in this Miami series.
Well, I have breaking news for you. I've changed my opinion, Tanner.
Whoa!
That's right. I had my hot take, but that was before I knew new information. The new information, obviously, is some of the missing pieces. To me now, at this point, Miami Heat are the team to beat in this series, and they are the better team going forward.
Even is it just because Smart and Horford's out, or is it just because Horford's out?
Right now, both.
But
I think this could go to Game 7. I do agree with that.
I think it's another 7-game series.
But here's my deal. I think that they're going to get such an edge. I see Miami winning the first 2 games here, and getting those first 2 out of the way is going to help them down the road of the series to where all they need at Game 7. I see it going back in their favor once it comes down to the final of this.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair. Like I said as well on Monday.
And as Jason has pointed out, the Heat have been here before.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler has been here before just 2 years ago.
Yeah. I'm not going to be mad about Jimmy Butler hitting the final.
Well, keep in mind that he's been here before, but he's got a chip on his shoulder because nobody gives him credit for being here before. Correct. Because it was in the bubble. Oh my gosh, big deal. You made the finals and you were in the bubble. Nobody gives him credit for that. Nobody even remembers that. So he does have a chip on his shoulder. Not that he needs one, because we all know Jimmy Butler is a crazed dog. More on that later. But, I had no idea when I made my pick, no idea that Horford was out. Okay, so I assumed that he was going to be there. I assumed that Smart would be there for the whole series because at the time I made my pick, Marcus Smart was a game-time decision. I assumed that he would play in that game.
Yeah.
I just think there's a bunch of crazed dogs on that Miami roster, and they don't care who's playing. They're going to destroy.
They're scary. That Miami roster is scary the way they play. So...
Well, let's talk about the games going on right now as we are here live right now. Golden State obviously facing off right now against Dallas Mavericks. Dallas getting a huge upset over the series, over the Suns. And it all comes down to really one man that controlled the outcome of this whole thing, and that's Luka Doncic. Why can't I say his name?
Luka Legend. It's easier to say that.
Luka Legend.
Call him Luka Legend.
I'd rather not say his last name because I always stumble on that one, but he's a great player, 23 years old. I mean, as much as I don't like his personality on the court, because I don't, but the guy is a really good player. I mean, freaking nails at times. Mm-hmm. And watching him destroy my favorite basketball team the way he did was humbling. And at the same time, even though I didn't like him during that series, I can sit back and respect him as a player and say, wow, okay, this guy's actually really goddamn good. And he's going to be here for a long time, guys. 23 years old right now and already literally taking over the whole team, putting the team on his back at times, making his shots. The guy throughout that last series was freaking almost perfect in my eyes.
Yeah, he outdid statistically 5 of the guys on the Suns.
No, he outdid
Right.
the whole team.
Like, it was
I
amazing.
mean, he played better than Booker.
You don't hear about that very
Chris
often.
Paul was god awful. I mean, I could say other words about this, but 2 years in a row now, Chris Paul has completely folded in the playoffs. And in my opinion, as a Suns fan, I'm about done with that crap because I'm tired
You
of it.
said 2 years, but it's been 5 times for Chris Paul.
Sure.
Leading 2-0, and he's folded.
He falls apart hard when he falls apart. It falls off quick, too. So, anyways, you guys, here we are. Game currently score is 16-13. Golden State has a lead at the moment in the Golden State, San Francisco area. So, what's your guys' thought on this specific series going on right now?
No, this is we talked about it Monday night, Jason and I, and I got the not Mavericks. I got the Warriors winning this here. I think it'll be about a 6-game series. JG, I think this wasn't the one he reserved; it was the other one. So I think you had the Warriors in 5.
I took the Warriors in 6.
6. All right, yeah, we both were at 6. That's right. But just don't forget, Luka's going to give it to him like he did the Suns here, and he loves playing these great teams, these tougher teams. So, I mean, if he can get some support, this could be another long series.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Luka, and the reason why I have this in 6 is because not only do we call him Luka legend, I call him the flopping legend because he's a below average defensive player, but the way that he makes up for that is he draws these ridiculous fouls where he flops like Manu Ginobili used to back in the day, and he just gets these calls. I don't know how, but that's the way that I could see Dallas getting that extra game. But I mean, the thing about the Warriors or the Dubs, whatever you want to call it, is like they're a well-oiled machine. And these guys, when I look at Dallas, they're a pretty good defensive team. I think they were number 7 overall in the NBA this year. Mm-hmm. But when you play the Warriors, you have to chase these guys around. You have to chase around Steph, Clay, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins. You chase them around all over the court on defense. And when that happens is you get over to the offensive side of the court, all of a sudden guys like Spencer Dinwiddie, Jalen Brunson, they're not going to be hitting shots at the same rate that they normally would because they're expending so much energy on the defensive side of the court by chasing around all these Warriors players that are making cuts, jacking up threes from 40 feet. They spread the floor. You got to chase these guys around. I just don't think you're going to see any kind of consistency from guys like Jalen Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie. Yeah, they're going to get hot for a couple of games, but you're not going to be able to depend on those guys in the same way that you could against Phoenix, because what did Phoenix do? Well, all you got to do is stop Devin Booker because Chris Paul's 37 years old. So, yeah, Chris Paul gets you a game or two, but he's 37. His dick is about to fall off because he's old. And so it's not as much work on the defensive side of the floor as far as Dallas is concerned when you're facing the Suns versus the Warriors. And so that's kind of how I see this series is like Golden State's a well-oiled machine. Jordan Poole, as I stated in an earlier podcast, didn't do a whole lot in that last series because he didn't have to.
He really didn't.
And if you see even 1 or 2 Jordan Poole games in this series, man, this thing's going to be a wrap.
Yeah, I think that one thing I want to point out, though, that Dallas is one of those try-hard teams. That's a team that does hustle. They hustled better than the Suns did during that series. And although Golden State is a very fast-paced team, Dallas is also very similar, just not quite as talented. I mean, they have one true star running the show for that team right now.
I think they're missing the weapons. That's what it is.
They need a couple, maybe one more guy really on that team. Otherwise, you have a bunch of tryhards, which is not a bad thing. I mean, you have guys that are putting in 100% effort, I feel like, the entire game. And that's why that they beat the Suns, and that's why they're here now against Golden State. And they're going to do their best to put up a fight there in that situation. I think they're ultimately not going to come out with a victory of the series, just because Golden State is much more primed for, finals type of a business because they're just a better team.
Right, and I think also you got to look at the coaching situation. I mean, Jason Kidd, when he first started out in the league, not a very good coach, but he's gradually got better and better all along the way.
Yep.
And while I do view him as a really, really good coach, excellent motivator, he doesn't hold a candle right now to Steve Kerr. I mean, Steve Kerr has got 1,000 championships
there's not
between
a lot of
player
guys
and
that
coach.
do
So
hold a candle at the moment.
yeah, so I think you look at the coaching advantage, and as you said, Mike and Tanner, like there's just not enough weapons on the other side. So I mean, if the refs, we all like to talk about the refs. If they want to push this thing out to 6 games, they could probably do it. Which, by the way, is why I picked it in 6 games, because if this was called fairly, this is probably either a sweep or a gentleman's sweep.
Yeah, sounds fair.
All right. So we don't need to make predictions at the moment or anything like that. So, but I think we're all kind of feeling Golden State is probably going to have the outcome of this. So
The upper hand
in this whole situation. But
Yep.
I have to ask you guys a question, and those of you listening currently, thank you so much for waiting for our thumbnail we put out there. If you know the reference, comment down below and tell me your favorite scene in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, because that was my favorite movie of all time, and I absolutely love everything about Jim Carrey as well. So I think he's a very cool guy. But with all that said, I want to play a game, and let's make this game right now. Let's make this game right now. The NBA NFL comparison game, where I'm going to list off a player, and I want you guys to give me his best NFL comparison in return. With maybe, if you guys want to elaborate a little bit, that would be nice. But let's go over a few guys here, a few of the big names that have been in the playoffs this postseason in the NBA. I'm going to start it off strong right now with the guy that's on the court at the moment. Steph Curry is my first guy. Who's this comparison for the NFL?
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill. Okay, explain more.
Okay, so Tyreek and Steph kind of play the same way. They're always running around essentially the court or the field.
Mm-hmm.
They're very fast, and they're very
misdirection. On misdirection, maybe, because they're both quick, undersized,
and they get used
fast.
And Steph likes to control the ball and everything. Tyreek gets up there, and he can jump too. We've seen him with the Chargers game a few times. Get up there, and I think Tyreek and Steph kind of similar. I don't know, similarized, but they're a good comparison. I think like captain as well. Tyreek's a good captain as well for the Chiefs that he was. So I don't know. I just think Tyreek Hill sounds like Steph Curry to me, with the speed and as much as they run around and the ability to execute in the end.
Tyreek's left-handed, so I don't know if that's going to work out.
We're not looking at that. Come on,
look.
now.
I went down broke down all the biographies, all of the scouting reports, and pieced them all together, and I found my perfect.
That guy's not 5'9". That's 6'1". You can't do that.
Well, undersized obviously is a thing, but I'll tell you my guy real quick, and then Jason, I'll let you go. For Steph Curry, my best comparison, you saw the thumbnail, is Russell Wilson indeed. Let's go ahead and get that one out of there. Reason being, yes, he's undersized. Both have won at least one title now in their respective leagues, and have been to multiple as well. Okay. Wilson is one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL, and has been since he stepped in, and Steph is one of the best 3-ball shooters in the NBA. So both of those guys are great from the long shot. Both are mobile, quick, agile players, and guys who are truly successful within their sport. And when Russell Wilson retires, we're always going to remember the rainbows he would throw.
Oh, yeah.
As a passer.
Yep.
The deep downfield 50-yard rainbows where the ball starts off like this trajectory, and by the time it hits a receiver's hands, it's literally pointing like this, perfectly shaped right into the cup of your hands. And it reminds me a lot of Steph Curry and the arc of the ball he has when he's shooting threes. So that's my guy.
I don't know if it's because we're a Chiefs show, but the first guy that came to my mind was the old kick returner for the Chiefs, Dante Hall. And because they called him the human joystick. And when I watch Steph Curry, it's like he'll just sit there and run around in circles. Yep. He'll run off screens. I mean, he's got the ball in his hands and he'll just run circles around people. And he'll put up a floater. He'll go to the step back. He'll blow by you and throw it high off the glass for a ridiculous layup that hits the top of the backboard. But I view him as kind of like a human joystick. But what they have in common is like they will score. Like Dante Hall, like you are always fearful of him
He's
that
gonna
he
score.
would score.
Yeah.
If he caught the ball, as a kick returner, and that's kind of how I view Steph Curry. Kind of with your point about misdirection is, this guy is going to wait to see what you do, and then he's going to make a move on you to score the ball.
And there was multiple games as well. Golden State used Steph as essentially a distraction that he got input. He didn't do much, but he was a distraction and a threat.
That's a good point, Tanner.
Tyreek Hill is known for that as well.
Right. So those of us have been following the Chiefs now for over 20 years. Dante Hall was a lot of times used on the offense as purely a distraction because he was someone you had to account for. He was not always a big part of the actual offense because back then the Chiefs had Eddie Kennison and Johnny Morton running the show as far as out wide a receiver. Dante would come in, and Mark Bobrichter, by the way, too. Dante would come in, and when he came into that offense, he was a guy that you as a defense had to be like, okay, that guy's on the field again. We got to make sure we watch where the hell he goes because, it is true. If he got the ball in his hands, he could be gone. And so that was always the true thing. And as far as the decoy type of aspect, or with Tyreek Hill was the true number one of the Chiefs for many years. So anyways, fun little comparison there on that one. Next one here on my list, because we have 5 total, you guys. Next one, we have Luka. Luka the what?
Luka the legend.
Luka the legend.
Luka the legend.
Luka the legend. And Tanner, go ahead. Start me off with your comparison to the NFL.
Aaron Rodgers, another legend.
I hate that. Okay, you have a lot of explaining to do. Is that really your pick?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers.
Good Lord. Okay.
Why not? What's wrong with that player?
You got to explain to me, Aaron. How does that make sense?
They're both on a franchise that isn't going to give you the support that you need. Luka's not going to go very far here sitting in against Golden State.
If I got Luka and if I'm Dallas, I'll make it work.
Luka also lost last year, I believe, not quite the conference finals, but the second round last year after upsetting. He's not going to get the support he needs. They traded off Christian Porzingis during the season, which is probably in the better for the Mavericks, but still, they're not going to get any support. And you got Aaron Rodgers over there who can carry his team the entire time, just like Luka does. Can make him a threat, but you're not going to get a final, and you're going to win one. You maybe win one title. So for me, Aaron Rodgers, Luka just kind of sound the same, where they carry their teams, and they don't get a lot of help from ownership.
All right, well,
they're dominant.
I don't have to like it, but whatever, Tanner, that's fine.
I love it.
Let's see if Luka chokes in the playoffs like Aaron normally does.
Well, it is the San Francisco team.
Because so far, Luka's done better in the postseason than Aaron has lately. So.
Yeah. Well, it is a San Francisco team, so if they lose, that's another comparison to it.
My comparison for Luka is Joe Burrow, as a matter of fact.
I hate this
one. The reason why I say Joe Burrow, they're both a tad bit cocky, a little full of themselves at times, both super talented players, but they have the ability to back it up. They're both young, which is also something that I wanted to make sense in the comparison, Tanner, for a minute here. And they're going to be around for a long time. Without a doubt, they are the leader of their team, and as they go is how the team goes. So for me, if you don't have a Joe Burrow, then that Bengals team is not going to go to the Super Bowl like they did this past season. Without a Luka, this Dallas team wouldn't probably even be in the playoffs. So I see it that way. I think that Burrow and Luka, both young guys who will potentially win a ring at some point in their career. It's possible. So I just see them similar personalities, similar situations, young, taking over leadership of a team. So that's my guy.
If you listen to the major sports networks today, which I basically do every day, it was all about Luka and what does he need to do to be the best player in the league. And some people think that if he wins a championship this year, that he will be the best player in the league. Well, I think he's got a little way to go on that, but he definitely has aspirations of being the best player in the league, or maybe even the GOAT. So my comparison is Tom Brady, who is the GOAT of the NFL. And the reason I compare him to Tom Brady is because I've heard that Luka has a way of getting under the skin of other players, and I've heard that he's also an amazing trash talker, like the other guy that he was compared to from back in the day, the other Larry legend, Larry Bird. Larry Bird was also a great trash talker, and so he's an amazing player, aspirations of being the GOAT, trash talk you, piss you off, like Tom Brady, so that's my comparison.
Okay. So a lot of what you're comparing about him is more of the actions on the field, the mentality. And I think when Tom Brady trash talks, he does it in a very subliminal way at times, but also just kind of in a way it's not super obvious all the time. I think he does it in a way of his own to where it's not just super
that's fair.
out there.
So not like when it was Tyrann Mathieu. That was kind of out there. Like he was out in the open.
Sure. That was out in the open, I would say. We've seen, obviously, Brady getting into it a few guys here and there every once in a while, but, like, I feel like he picks and chooses when he trash talks, and he's kind of smart about it.
I think he does it more now in the Bucs now, but when he was with Belichick, he wasn't allowed to do that. He had to hide it a little bit more.
Yeah, him and Chris Jones had a nice little talk one time. That was a funny little experience. Tanner, next guy on my list here, I'm going to talk about Jimmy Butler, one of your favorite players. So go ahead with your NFL comparison.
You know, the longer I sit on this, the longer I hate this pick, but I think I'm still going to do it just because I feel like there's so many other players you can compare to Jimmy Butler. But I'm going to go Derrick Henry, a force of nature, a guy that's not afraid to go at you. He's not massive in size by any means. Jimmy B is, actually fairly big on a small forward stage.
6'7", 230.
But he's ready. He's going to attack you. He's going to get to the bucket. I don't know. I think it's just the force, his mentality, and a guy that what I think about Jimmy Butler is a guy that's going to go down your throat is also Derrick Henry who's going to go down your throat. So
okay,
I'm going Keen Henry as my comparison to Jimmy B.
I got to see a little bit of that. I'm going to go. So a lot of my players here on my list match up very closely in age. So I do want to make that something that's known here.
You went like really like age, depth, and everything.
Right. So everything about the way this player's gone. So for me, Jimmy Butler, the guy he reminds me the most about right now is Julio Jones. And the reason I say Julio Jones is that they're both supremely talented players who seem to have had a case of the little injury bugs here and there throughout their career. And it's minor things. You know, most of Julio's injuries have been little things where he lives his life on the question board. He's questionable every single week. But here's the thing. He's still going to show up and play. And Julio's done that throughout the rest of all of his career. Jimmy Butler's done the same. Jimmy Butler is always on the report all the damn time, but he still will dominate games. They're both well-rounded players, and both have been to a championship, but neither have yet won one.
Correct.
So, in my eyes, I see both of these guys, which, by the way, same age. I think all my guys are about the same age. But I think I see these two guys as the elite of their respective position at times. You know, Julio, especially in his prime, was the best receiver in football, next to like Antonio Brown for that time period. Or Jimmy Butler, now he's starting to get a little older, but still has a lot of drive to him, of course. But the way he plays the game, he can take over games the same way Julio Jones did at one point in his career. So I'm not saying comparatively right now, because Butler is ahead of Julio. Well, Julio plays a contact sport, and your body's going to break down faster. I'm talking about Julio as a body of a career, and especially in the prime. That's who he reminds me of. So go ahead, Jason.
I've got players from all over the place, a bunch of different eras. And like I said earlier, when I think about Jimmy Butler, I talked about earlier, Butler and the Miami Heat, they play like a bunch of crazed dogs. And when I first thought about that phrase, obviously the first NFL player that came to my mind was Lawrence Taylor, who many, feel that he's the GOAT. Like whether you think about it offensively or defensively, they think he's probably one of the greatest players of all time. And, he always played under control, like Jimmy Butler. Nobody could ever get under his skin. He would be the guy getting under other people's skin. And Jimmy Butler does play like a crazed dog, under control, but he plays for blood. And so I feel like that was my biggest comparison, because he's the guy that is the most feared. Like if we're just talking about the Final Four right now in the NBA Finals, or the NBA Final Four, whatever you want to call it, conference finals, I think Jimmy Butler is the most feared. And that's how Lawrence Taylor was back in the day. You did not want to play against that guy.
So you went way more towards the mentality of player.
Exactly.
So it's kind of funny. Whenever we thought about this whole segment, we wanted to put together just comparison of how it works. Yeah. I'm over here like comparing styles of play and history of career. You're comparing mentality. of each player. I've noticed I picked up on already. And Tanner, you're comparing physicality to some of these guys.
I just couldn't do the physicality thing because they're a bunch of skinny guys versus a bunch of big husky guys out here.
This is actually funny. This is interesting. We all have different perspective.
But it's all about mentality. The mental side in both sports is the most important part.
Well, you're going to like my next one a lot, Jason. My next guy on the list, Giannis Antetokounmpo, is my next player on the list. Tanner, go ahead and start us off with your NFL comparison.
Best player in the nation, a guy that just won a Super Bowl, and a guy that is feared like Giannis. When you have to play Giannis, you're fearing him. When you have to face this guy, they cringe. Aaron Donald, baby. Yeah. Aaron Donald. So, do I have to say anything else? Like, do we not know?
I get it.
You don't know who Aaron Donald is? Hey, Google him, watch some videos. You'll know. You'll know what I mean.
Both of these guys defensively can take over games, so it makes a lot of sense to me. Donald is someone, when you see him line up, you are terrified about what's going to happen to you as an offensive lineman. Because you know this guy is the perfect player. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so I get that. That's a good comparison for sure.
That's Giannis in this last playoff series. He was being double teamed down low, and he was still scoring 40 a game. So
right. We've seen Aaron Donald get triple teamed, and seriously, it's just one
it
of those
still
things,
doesn't matter.
But yeah, I like that comparison for sure. And he just won a title. Giannis has a title under his belt.
Yep.
I have one, obviously close to home here. My actual comparison for Giannis, because remember, we all have different perspectives. Now that I picked up on that, my comparison for Giannis is actually Patrick Mahomes. And the reason I say Patrick Mahomes is that both players can take over the game at any moment. And these are cornerstone type of players that are going to be with their organizations for a long time. Both have a championship and as well as MVP titles in there as well. They both play with humility on the field and on the court, but both are fearless players who care a lot about the game as well. So these are people who care about the sport. They've been successful. They are driven, obviously. But also they're humble in the times where it makes sense to be humble for both of these guys. So, and I want to point out one more thing. Plus, both got knocked out of the playoffs early this year. So
there you go.
Anyways, I see. Also, Giannis is in a lot of ways the biggest name in the NBA right now, next to Steph and I don't know who else would you throw in there. LeBron, I guess LeBron, whatever. Those guys didn't make the playoffs.
Kyrie.
Yeah, let me know when Giannis and Patrick Mahomes don't make the playoffs. We'll think about that one day. But anyways, that's my guys. So Jason, go ahead.
Giannis. My comparison for Giannis, the first guy that came to my mind was J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
Right? So both of those guys are feared in their respective sports, but they're basically extremely nice people off the field. Kind of like, Giannis is like a teddy bear. Right,
that's what I was saying about Patrick. Like humility. These guys.
Yeah,
on the field, on the court, these guys are ruthless.
Extremely. They do a lot for the community. God forbid that they say something to offend anyone. They're the nicest guys that you'll ever meet off the field.
Yep.
But when they get on the field or the court, they will fuck you up and like you won't believe. And so that was kind of my comparison there.
Makes a lot of sense to me for sure. We got another one here. We got one more on the list, and then we have a little one that Jason doesn't know about, a little bonus one. But next one up, we have John Morant as our next comparison. Who do you got, Tanner?
John Morant, still a young guy, still leading his team and can explode at any moment. Also has some injury history. The guy I think about with John Morant is Kyler Murray. He's got a pretty decent team, I would say. But they can't. They can explode at any moment as well. Fantasy value on the team, but as soon as they get kind of just knocked up a little bit here, it's a rough go, and they miss key games. So that's kind of what my thought is with the Kyler Murray.
Gotcha. So the injury thing is,
and they're both
you bring into play here.
Small, right?
I am going to go with Jamar Chase as my pick for John Morant, just because of the big play potential from both of these guys. We saw, obviously, Chase had a huge rookie season this past year with the Bengals. Both of these guys are young and both had great seasons last year.
Yep.
The health aspect is something interesting. Chase obviously played, I think, all of his games. But I think what I was gearing more towards is the playmaking ability of these two guys, and they're both fast as hell, quick. And Jamar Chase, one of those guys, catch a 5-yard pass, take it 55. It doesn't matter. and Jamal Morant is kind of a similar type of a skill set of explosion that I kind of compare to Chase. What do you got, Jason?
Yeah, John Morant, the thing I hear the most about him is like, oh my gosh, what's he going to be able to accomplish throughout his career? He's such a small player, right? He's only 6'3". What are you going to do at 6'3" in the NBA? He's not going to be Jordan. Jordan was 6'6". So I just thought of the best small player in the history of the NFL, 5'8" Barry Sanders. Small player, not necessarily a guy that's going to bulldoze over you, but he's got all the moves and he will run around you. And if he wants to, a la John Morant, get to the rim and score, he's going to do that because he's just going to blow by you without very much effort at all. And he's not going to be stopped. And so that was my comparison was Barry.
Yeah, I like that.
Very nice. Tanner, I got one more for you and I at least. I don't know if Jason wants to chime in, he can. But I did want to say Jason Tatum as one of our guys here. Who's your guy?
So I'm going to change my answer, what I've written down. I've written down Lamar Jackson, but I'm changing it to Justin Jefferson because this guy, Jason Tatum, is on the rise. Justin Jefferson's on the rise. These guys are going to be superstars here soon as well for their respective leagues. They can just take over. They're quick. They're just special when they play. So I think Jason Tatum, Justin Jefferson kind of match up there. They're quick and they can take over.
Gotcha. My guy, they're both 24 years old, by the way, and are considered all-stars of their respective sports. But you might not like this because I know we all understand this player right here is elite. But Justin Herbert is my answer for the Jason Tatum situation here.
Okay.
Both players are young, upcoming stars on their sport, going to be around for a long-ass time, but still have even more upside to grow within as well. So that's my guy. I see Tatum being just as big of a name as Justin Herbert in the NFL. Because I see those. Look, when you're 6'8", and you're Jason Tatum, you can hit threes. You can do it. I mean, he's a guy that's well-rounded as a player.
Kind of done it all.
He's well-rounded. He's in a lot of ways. I looked more into this recently. He's better than Devin Booker in a lot of ways. They're very similar players, but there's potential there that Booker doesn't have. And he was a Kobe prodigy, correct?
Correct.
So I think there's upside there with Mr. Tatum, where Herbert as well upside just because the dude has kind of it all physically and in the intangibles.
Well, you guys are going to kill me for this, but I had to think of this off the cuff. The first player that came to mind was Matthew Stafford because Jason Tatum is very mechanical in the way he approaches the game. He's got, really good mechanics and really good fundamentals, but he's also not a player that really gives you that wow factor. He hasn't really proven a lot. He doesn't have any championships. Matt Stafford finally got one. But he's a guy that strikes me that even though he doesn't have that wow factor, those fundamentals could make him the leader of a championship team one day. And that's kind of how I think about Matt Stafford. So no insults to you Celtics fans out there, but that's the first player that came to mind because, he's a superstar. Like, there's no doubt he is a superstar player, but I think he's got a lot to prove. And Matt Stafford had a lot to prove basically for his whole career until he finally got that first championship.
I want to hear, those out there listening, I want to hear your input on your comparisons for NBA players. Even if it's someone we didn't mention, go ahead and throw them on the list. I joked around with the guys the other day about Chris Paul in being kind of like a Phillip Rivers in my mind, where a guy who's good enough to win with, but never good enough to actually finish the job. And so these guys on our list, between Steph, Luka, Jimmy Butler, Giannis, Tatum, and John Morant, if you guys have your own comparison, I'd like to hear it as well, because I think it's a fun topic, and I think there's always interesting things between sports that we can look at and say, hey, this guy reminds me of this guy. Even if it's a cross-sport thing, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, all right, guys, we got one more thing we need to talk about before we get off the air here, but it is Drew Brees is
making some news.
Put out a little tweet, I guess, recently. Tanner, do you have that tweet pulled up by chance?
I don't know.
I'm curious. I can't remember exactly everything it said on there, but basically the whole gist of it is he's indecisive right now about what he wants to do going forward within his career. And then when I say career, I mean within his announcing career, within his football career, within anything he wants to do here going forward.
All right. So the tweet was, despite speculation from media about my future this fall, I'm currently undecided. I may work for NBC. I may play football again. I may focus on business and philanthropy. I can't say that freaking word.
You got it. You got it.
Train for the pickleball tour, senior golf tour, coach my kids, or all of the above. I'll let you know. And now it's May 15th. He tweeted that. So
it sounds like he just doesn't know what to do with his life. But no, I think in a lot of ways maybe he was joking around about coming back to play in the NFL again, because obviously the Saints are in a position right now with Jameis Winston to where Winston is one of those weird players that I think if he can get his mental side really settled in, he can actually be a good quarterback in this league.
I think so too.
And as old as he's getting at this point, I'm not going to totally sell him off as he is what he is. I don't necessarily believe that. I think if you can get him the right coaching, I think Winston's still a guy that can develop into a better quarterback. And I think if you put him with like a great quarterback coach like Andy Reid, you can knock down those turnovers that he has a problem with. And my whole point behind saying that is that, look, if Drew Brees came back, who are you going to play with? You going to the Saints? Because
he said it had to be the Saints.
No, because here's the deal. Prove to me why you, Drew Brees, would be a better player right now than what Jameis Winston can do for the Saints, because your ass can't throw past 15 yards. So
let me give you more on that. Drew Brees recently also just had shoulder surgery, so that would kind of complicate his potential of returning as well. He'd be out at least until October is what everybody's saying. So you'd be waiting for a team essentially to, after all the injuries start happening, to fill in, but that wouldn't be the Saints. There's no way.
Well, I mean, Jameis Winston, I mean, he could, he's been known to be a guy that gets injured from time to time, but I think it reminds me of like the Phillip Rivers situation from last year, where he was just kind of on the sidelines waiting to see if there would be a contender that would be in need of a good quarterback last year. That's the only situation where I could see where he could play this year.
But the Saints would just roll Taysom Hill.
So
if Winston's injured, they roll Taysom Hill.
Right, but I'm just saying if he had shoulder surgery and he thinks that his throwing could improve after the surgery, then maybe he could come back.
It was left shoulder. I just saw here.
Oh, left shoulder.
Oh, not throwing.
That still puts him unable to play till October.
Yeah, I'm going with the USFL here because he's, by the way,
if he was to play football again, because the guy has enough money. Let's be real.
Yeah,
Drew Brees has tons of money. It's fine. He's good off. So if he wants to really just play football again, you're right. USFL is an option. There you go.
I just want to say I thought he did very well on NBC. And if he wants to stick with that, so good luck to him, because I think he did very well.
I want him to stay on NBC.
So NBC as far as actually NBC and Breeze are splitting. So there's no more Breeze on NBC.
Okay. So he got fired.
So supposedly it was mutual in a way, but pretty much he got canned.
But somebody else would hire him.
Oh, so
my point is like he looks like he could have a future there, but as far as an NFL player is concerned, with all due respect, and we all know what comes after I say that, he is an old bum. His arm is completely broken, and it's the USFL or the CFL, dude. If you want to keep playing, go do it. But I don't want to see you in the NFL because I don't want to see you get injured again. I don't want to see your legacy ruined.
I do have a question for you guys, a little bit off topic, but regarding announcing. How do you guys feel about knowing that Tom Brady has, in fact, plans to be in the booth during games coming up after his retirement?
I mean, how upset are you if you're Tony Romo? That's what I want to know.
Explain more. Go ahead, Tanner.
So,
Go ahead. What
so Tony Romo is your quarterback, retired quarterback that came in and broadcast and blew open the doors, right? Blew open the windows with his, intellect and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And now you're going to have Tom Brady, who sits there and does that anyways on podcasts and the different stuff he's done through the last couple of years. And this guy's going to be would have played for, what are we going on, 23, 24?
We're about to lose track because he's about to be 45 years old.
Not enough hands or not enough fingers. So this guy's going to come in and everybody loves him. He's already a big essentially a social media person.
Right.
He's on commercials and everything, and he still does a lot of podcasts that I've listened to as well for him being in there. So he's pretty much set. And
Right.
I mean, if you're Tony Romo, you might be kind of upset because that might be some money that you're losing now.
Well, Romo's not
In
going
future
anywhere. I mean,
contracts. No.
Romo is still going to be doing what he's doing. He's good at what he
I
does.
mean, you're gonna be looking. I'd be cool. How cool would it be to have a Tom Brady, Tony Romo?
So who's Tony Romo's new partner going to be?
Let me look.
That's my main question right now, because if you could have a partner with Tony Romo who also has that same charisma, during games, who would you want to choose from that list of potential candidates? Because for me, like Tom Brady, I don't care what game's going on. If Tom Brady's announcing the game, I'm going to tune into it because I like him and I like some of his intellect when it comes to the games. Now, if it's Peyton Manning, I don't give a damn. That guy sucks.
No. Peyton and Eli will be fine. They're going to sit there on their
Those
own.
guys are boring.
Tom McCarthy is, by the way, the voice of the Phillies, voice of the game, who calls Phillies on CBS. He's going to be partners with Romo. But I think Tom Brady. What if he just goes out and recruits Rob Gronkowski as his partner on the booth?
You would have like a very John Madden-esque type of an announcer in Rob Gronkowski, because Madden didn't have a lot of big words.
See what
he
you
would
do.
use. He would just
Catch
go.
the ball.
Rob would go.
And you go.
He's going to line up over here, and he's going to go boom, and then he's going to give a little jiggy up here, and he's going to give a guy grab the ball, run and put his shoulder down, and boom.
And because he crossed the line,
he's going to use
first down.
He's going to use more buzzwords than anything. It's going to be Gronk is going to be John Madden 2.0 when it comes to announcing.
How about future-wise? We look at maybe Travis hopping in the booth after a few more years here.
Well, here's the thing about Tom Brady, guys. There's a reason why he signed that deal, and a lot of people are asking out there, well, what if he sucks? What if they fire his ass? I'm pretty sure that he put some material out there, and people can clearly see that he's going to be effective at his job. Now, it's a ridiculous amount of money that he got, but I compare it to kind of like the Draymond Green deal that he got with TNT. Draymond Green signed a deal with TNT while he's an active player. And so Tom Brady, this deal is for after he hangs it up as an NFL player. But Draymond Green has already proven himself as a podcaster. And I think that Tom Brady's kind of moving in that same direction where they're planning their career, after their playing career is done, kind of like Draymond Green. They've got plans for the future, and I think it's already kind of set in stone that they're very good at what they do.
It is exciting, though, to know what we expect for Brady to do when he's done playing, because obviously as a player, he's fun to watch because he's so cerebral. Where like now, whenever Brady retires, it's not going to be as much of a sad thing because you're still going to get a piece of Brady in your football life, even for the next potentially 10 years.
Yep.
Which I know some people are going to hate that, but others who just literally love the sport and appreciate greatness, whether you hate him or love him. I think you can appreciate the fact that the best player in the history of the game is going to still be involved in the game when it's all said and done on the playing field.
And he's still going to be very effective at building his brand. I mean, like now that he's signed this deal, I mean, he's going to be calling, and analyzing all these NFL games. I mean, meanwhile, he's going to still be doing the Hertz commercials and making money doing that. So he's going to be the face of the league.
Subway. He doesn't even eat bread.
He's going to be the face of the league after he's long gone, which is that's amazing to be able to say that.
And the deal, by the way, it's Fox, and they're paying $375 million essentially for Tom Brady for 10 years.
That's almost a Patrick Mahomes deal.
Well, he's going to be making more than a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
You understand Brady is a billionaire. I mean, if he doesn't have $1 billion, he's well on his way to being a billionaire.
Now,
I think he's at least close.
Now, is that his money or is that his wife's money? Because sometimes it gets kind of mixed up.
He does make more than I know. Contrary to belief, some people say the opposite, but yes, he does make more money than his wife. But she also makes a ton of money as well.
Just makes me wonder if they have a joint checking account or they keep that shit separate.
Hell, when you make that much, who cares?
Who cares? Just
so,
throw it in
whatever.
Throw it in the mix.
I would do a joint in that case.
If you want a current net worth for Tom Brady's personal net worth is estimated to be $250 million. And then Giselle net worth, it's actually $400 million.
So they're combined. They're still not at $1 billion. So they've got some work to do, which is why he signed this new deal.
I don't believe necessarily in net worth numbers, but
just
whatever.
Throwing it out there.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. All right, guys. Well, any more Drew Brees takes?
No, I was going to say so Drew Brees is not coming back.
No, essentially. He's not playing in the NFL anymore.
He's broken.
If he wants to play football again, he can go to the USFL, not make shit, and be happy just throwing 5-yard passes to a bunch of bums.
He might be throwing passes to Henry Ruggs next year if he comes back to the USFL.
In my opinion, Henry Ruggs should just be
in jail.
Forever. I was going to say something worse, but people would take it the wrong way.
Not
How funny would that be if you had Drew Brees and Henry Ruggs and Pac-Man Jones all in the same USFL team at the same time? They should all just go to the strip club at the same time.
James Harden, too.
Put them all in the same jail cell. Keep them going there together. All right, guys. Any final thoughts here before we get off the air here?
Nah, I got nothing.
Final thought. My final thought is the Chiefs' first 4 weeks of the schedule are going to be tough. It's going to be a very battle-tested team. But the good news is the last 4 weeks of the schedule are going to be a cakewalk. So if the Chiefs start off rough, no worries, nothing to be concerned about. Expect the end of the season, the Chiefs to get hot at the right time, get their mojo going, and things are going to be looking up at that point. But this is not an easy schedule. It's a tough schedule for sure.
And that wide receiver room might be a little bit better than you think.
I think
for
so.
Sure.
We had a comment real quick here. Eludian from Twitch says the GOAT can go F himself. LOLs. 375 mil. No, that's fair. That's a very fair opinion.
I know.
I don't think
some of that comment. No problem with you, man. But some of it comes from jealousy, and I understand that because yes, I would love to have literally 1/375th of that deal because that would be 1 million. But you know what I mean? Like that's a little bit of a jealousy there. But hey, the guy is good, and I respect him for the fact that he has been the best damn thing that the football world has ever seen since it was created back at the guy named Walter Camp in the 1800s.
I'm pretty sure
100%.
I'm pretty sure that he does not need to go F himself because the last time I checked, his wife doesn't look too bad. So I don't think he has to F himself.
Well, I guess he could probably do both at the same time.
I guess you could if you're into that sort of thing.
He might be into that. He might be effing himself and his wife at the same time.
The next OnlyFans.
Oh, you see it, Tom Brady. Imagine Tom
Brady
had
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. All right, we need to get off the air.
Did you hear
What?
Carmen Electra is now on OnlyFans?
I'll pass.
I just saw that something about it.
If you had said that to me 20 years ago.
Oh no, everybody's blowing it up. Apparently,
and then maybe.
So.
Oh, I know. I just figured out the other guy that I want to see on that USFL team with Pac-Man Jones and all those other guys and Drew Brees, Vontez Burfict, and Henry Ruggs and Drew Brees.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good foursome right there, isn't it?
Then they can all really fuck themselves together. No, I'll take the new Megan Fox is what I'll take.
Thanks, Lunian. Appreciate it.
I'll take Megan Fox, the current Megan Fox with Machine Gun Kelly. That's a thing right now. Oh man! All right, guys, we got to get off here. It's an hour. We're an hour in, so we're gonna wrap up here. We'll be back at Mr. Brew's next week, right, Tanner?
That's right.
Mr. Brew's Tap House, Overland Park, Kansas. We are there the last Wednesday of every single month. So back there again, talking NBA, talking.
Come on out, guys! Join us at the bar.
Absolutely.
You're welcome to listen to us live.
We'll be there.
Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. What is it? Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. We are live every Wednesday on that, and then we're also live Mondays. JG and I here. We do a little NBA show. One day we'll get Mike on, but it's all right. So
I'll be on eventually.
we'll get him on. Don't worry. The Suns might be out, but he might hop on still. So, but anyways, guys, everybody have a great day.
I'll see y'all on the next one.
See you guys.